All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Katrina. I am the Assistant Director at the Ashland Public Library, and I am here with Heidi McIndoo, a registered dietitian, enthusiast, cookbook author, and somebody who wants you to eat healthfully and deliciously. And she is going to teach us tonight how to create amazing mini pumpkin tartlets. I am so excited. Just a word to everybody before we get started. This webinar is recorded. It will be sent out to all of you afterwards, after we're done. If you have any questions or comments, you can use the Q&A, but Heidi will be monitoring the chat. So feel free to pop your questions in as we're cooking during the chat, and we will try to answer those as we go along as well. So, Heidi, I am going to pop off here and leave this to you.
All right, sounds great. Hello, everyone. I'm reading all these hellos, and I see people in rainy Chicago. I am in Massachusetts, where we have not had rain since like September 21st, basically. So we would love some rain. Lots of Acton people, Cape Cod, Chicago, New Hampshire, Oregon. Oh my gosh. Okay. So hello, everybody. So yes, I can see questions in the chat. So if you have any questions or comments as I'm talking, um, please feel free to pop them in the chat. I'm actually going to close my participant window. So there we go. I can see the whole of the chat. All right. So we are making, like she said, some yummy little mini pumpkin pie tarts. And I chose this for a couple reasons. I'm all about healthy eating, but for me, part of healthy eating is what I call vitamin P, which is pleasure. We have to enjoy our food if we're going to be healthy. If we're just eating food that we don't like because it's healthy, then what fun is that? So I like to find ways to make, and there's lots of healthy foods that are naturally delicious, don't get me wrong. But sometimes, the treat foods, uh, we just, there are some treat foods that you just can't mess with and you just enjoy them on an occasional basis. But if I can put a spin on something, I like to try to do that. With the pumpkin pies, I mean, pumpkin itself is loaded with fiber and vitamin A. So it's a fantastic and all kinds of antioxidants. So it's already got a really good base to be a healthy sort of component to a recipe. And it's pumpkin pies, very popular on the Thanksgiving table, at least at mine. I love pumpkin pie. So I thought, okay, let's try and take advantage of this healthy pumpkin, but even put a little healthier spin on it. So I am not at all saying these are the most nutritious things in the world that you could possibly eat, and you need to eat them 50 million times a day. I am saying we are taking pumpkin pie and just bumping up the nutrient quota a little bit. Hello in Maine and Vermont. Lots of Mass people, so hello. So I've done a couple of things, and I will talk about it as I do it. I will talk about what I've done to make it healthier. So the first thing, actually, we'll talk about right at the beginning is I am making little mini pumpkin pies. So they're going to be, little muffin cup sizes. So somebody's having a problem hearing. Is anybody else having a problem hearing? I don't know. The reason I do the mini pumpkin pies is because now we have an individual single serving and it's much easier oh, thank you for sharing. Your audio is fine. All right, so whoever's having a problem, you may want to turn yours on or off, something like that. We have it's much easier to, shall I say, control yourself when you have a smaller portion and not an entire pie to dig into. And I like it too because you can look at this, you'll see it when they're done, but you can look at this mini pie and you can just savor that entire thing. You get all the crust, you get everything. So I really like that. So speaking of crust, we are going to start with our crust. And when it comes to crust, so the key to a flaky, delicious pie crust is butter. That's, That's all there is to it. Butter, or some people like shortening or margarine, it's some sort of fat. But that is one of the tricks or the ingredients, I guess I should say, that make the pie crust not super healthy. I do love butter. I am a butter person. I'm going to eat butter all the time over margarine. I just use it sparingly because I think the flavor, it just contributes such a great flavor. And to me, that's really crucial. But I'm actually, because we are not going to be rolling out this crust, we can actually make it with oil, which is going to make it a little bit healthier. So that's one step. We are going to be using an oil-based crust. And trust me, I've made this before. It's not oily or greasy when you eat it. No more than any butter-filled crust would be. One of the other tricks is I am going to be using half white flour and half all-purpose flour. So question, can the crust be made in a food processor? You can, but you're going to see how easy I make this. I don't think you're going to need to use a food processor, just that we can just wash a bowl. Can it be made with totally all-purpose flour? Yes, you can totally use all-purpose flour. I am using the whole wheat flour just to make it a little healthier, to add a little bit of fiber and whole grain to it. So I'm going to start with my all-purpose flour. And I am using 1 cup. So whenever you are measuring flour, you always want to scoop it in and then level it off. That's how most recipes are written. And the way flour can compact itself, if a recipe is written for doing it that way, measuring it that way, and you scoop it up, then you're going to compact it and you're going to get too much flour and it can result in dense cookies, things like that. Oops, hold on, we got cool stuff. Oh, flour and corn oil. Yes, okay, cool. So since the 1940s, this has been around. Can we make crust gluten-free? I don't know why you couldn't make it gluten-free. I have not tried it with gluten-free flour, but I think you could probably, if you're successful with gluten-free flour, then go for it and try it. The other ingredient, so this is white whole wheat. It's also called golden wheat now, and it is a different kind of flour. It still gives you the whole wheat benefit, but it's just a much lighter flour. And so for something like a pastry crust, it's going to end up working much better. So we have 1 cup of all-purpose flour and 3/4 of a cup of this white whole wheat, golden wheat, whatever you want to call it. We're going to do a little pinch of salt. Technically, that pinch is a 1/2 teaspoon. Okay. All right, and move that over there because we're going to use that later. And now we're just, I'm going to use my whisk that I have for my filling. We're just going to combine these all up. Just a smidge. And now we add our liquids. So we are going to, I measured out, this is 1/2 cup. I'm using canola oil. If you like to use a light olive oil, if you like to use avocado oil, whatever kind of oil you like to cook with, and 2 tablespoons of plain old water, nothing fancy. And then we are just going to mix this all around. So you can see this is it. So person who wanted to know about the food processor, this is just so easy, but feel free to use the food processor. We are just going to mix this until it is all combined. And I am going to do what I think is a fun little trick to shape our pie doughs, or shape, I don't know. Fill our pan, maybe that's the word I'm looking for. All right, so that's it. So pie dough is mixed. Has anyone ever made such an easy pie dough? Now, what we're going to do is, where is my thing? Okay. All right, we want to get this our surface here, we want to get some flour on it. Oops. I did not get hardly, there we go. Get a nice little coating of flour because we are going to dump. Yeah, okay, the camera's too high. All right, if you guys don't mind having the camera in that view, is that better? All right, so now we're going to dump this out. Make sure we get all of that there. I am going to get some flour on my hands. And we are just going to make a nice little log. So, like when you used to make little ropes of whatever, cookie dough. What else rolls into logs? I can't think. All right. So I want it to be, there we go. I want it to be the same sort of diameter and size all around because this is what I love. Instead of having to guess how big to make everything, this is going to make a dozen. It's going to make 12 little mini pies. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut our log into 12 pieces. So I always do that. I always start in the middle. So now I have 2 pieces. Now I have 4 pieces. And now I have to divide each of these into 3. That's when it gets tricky. It's always easy to cut it in half. But now we're going to cut each of our logs, or our 4 pieces, into 3 pieces. And this way everything sort of gets equal-ish. 2. Well, that was not a good, there we go. That's better. All right, so now we're going to get our pans. And you could totally line your muffin pan with cupcake liners, but I'm using silicone molds today, and nothing sticks to them. So I don't tend to add the liners. Sorry, I just need to move all these so I can put my pan down. Okay, so we're going to drop one of these little fun pieces of dough in each one. All right, so now we know everyone is roughly the same size. And I'm going to use yes, these are Tupperware molds, and they are awesome. I've had silicone cupcake pans in the past. Man, these ones are awesome. I actually have 4 sets of them because I'm like, I want to use these for everything. So this is called a tart tamper. I don't know what else it does except for smash things in cups. If you don't have one, you can use your fingers, you can use the bottom of the glass, whatever you have that works well. But we are making, I'm gonna dump that in a little flour. We are now making our little pie crusts. So if anyone has any questions, now would be an awesome time, as I'm just very boringly smashing all of my, let's see, you can't see that. Let's see, we're making cute little cups. Does the crust go up? So it goes up. I'll try and tilt it. It's going to go up a little. Where's my camera? There we go. A little bit, but not all the way. There's not enough to go up all the way. And that's fine. And you can always sort of do like that, and it'll go up a little bit further. You can play with it. If you really want it to go up all the way, I suppose you could make a little bit fewer, maybe make 10 or something, so you have a little bit more dough, but they were totally fine like this. So this isn't exactly going to be a flaky crust. I don't know how to describe it. It really tastes good. Do some with my fingers, man. All right, hold on. Let me get, this one has a little bit too much and this one has a little bit too less. Oh, and that you can't even see what I'm doing, so hold on. There we go. Veganize them. Well, so far, there is nothing that's not vegan in here. Move the camera back. There we go. Okay, somebody wanted me to do some with my fingers. So I'm going to do that. So I tend, if I do that, I sort of use the knuckles of my fingers so that we can shape them all around. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on. I just want to make sure. Yeah, so it's not going to exactly be flaky. But it's really got a good flavor. I've not tried adding vinegar. I've done that to other crusts when I use butter. There we go. But hey, feel free. Yeah, so I was gonna say I got distracted with the veganizing. I guess so. I've never made a pumpkin pie without the eggs, and also this does have evaporated milk, but you could always do a swap for like a coconut milk or a soy milk or any other kind of milk. Um, I wonder if any of if you've done a lot of vegan baking, I don't know if any of the egg substitutes like the flaxseed and things like that um, would be helpful. Uh, or would I say, I guess would work. We have to find the egg substitute that would work while making a custard. That's basically what the eggs do. Actually, I sort of ask people to do questions because otherwise you're just staring at me pressing these in, and I thought it would give us something to talk about. All right. Let's see. Yep, okay. Yeah, so these are getting, so you can use fingers. Like I said, I showed you that glass. I don't want to use that glass because I think it's actually too small for my muffin pan. But if you have, you may have a glass that's just the right size. Oh, good. Yeah, yeah. That's like I said, for the vegan eggs, I'm just not sure which of the subs work well for like a custard kind of thing. But yeah, that and swapping out the milk would be very easy to do. All right, so where did I get the tamper? Honestly, I have no clue. I probably got it back at like Bed Bath and Beyond when those used to be around. I bet these days you could find one on Amazon or if you have any cooking store. So I grew up in Connecticut, and we have in Mystic, Connecticut, we have a great little um, cooking shop. So if you have like a cooking shop, yeah, Amazon. Okay, there we go. So our crusts are ready. We're going to set this down. I have not used this with a mini pan just because these are sort of just like 2 bite size, so they're not that big anyways. Anyways, I don't know what I'm trying to say. As is what I'm trying to say. All right, so now we want to get our filling done. You know what? I've never used goat milks before, so if you use goat milk as a sub for traditional milk, for cow's milk, then go crazy and give it a whirl. Kitchen Outfitters in Acton. Now I need to go there. Apparently they might have a tart tamper. All right, so we are starting with our basic pumpkin pie filling. So I've got two eggs, large eggs. You always want to use large eggs when cooking. That's what most recipes call for. And I'm just going to whisk these around a little bit. All right, and now best thing about pumpkin pie is so easy. We just dump everything in, right? All right. Yeah, I tell you what, this tart tamper thing, somebody said it looks much easier. It I hardly ever use it, but when I do use it, it's perfect. How long is the log? I guess I would say it was probably 1, 2, 3, 4. It's probably about 10 inches long. I didn't measure it. Um, but yeah, about 10 inches long, I guess. All right, and I am using, so this is something key. If you're not, if you've never made pumpkin pie before, you want to make sure that you are using 100% pure pumpkin, not the pumpkin pie filling, because that has other things added to it, and we are going to be adding our own other things. And this is just pure pumpkin, like I said, loaded with vitamin A, potassium, fiber, no added sugar, no low salt, uh, no fat, all that fun stuff. And then this is one of the other switches. So, okay, so perfect timing for this question. Would half and half work for evaporated milk? Totally, it would totally work in the pie. However, one of my switches to make this a little healthier is I'm using skimmed evaporated milk. So, with the half and half, you are just going to be getting much more fat. But again, if this is just a treat that you're having once in a while, that's fun, which most people don't snack on pumpkin pie year round. And we are going to be using 1 cup of evaporated skimmed milk. So it's not the full can. And that's because we want to have, if we put the full can in, it's going to be a lot of liquid, and we'll have more filling than we need, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But there is still, like, I'd say, a third of a can left in here, so it's really going to make it a lot thinner as well. And so I stick to, for this particular recipe, I stick with that smaller can. One other change, where is my spoon? I'm cutting the sugar down a little bit. There we go. All right, so my traditional pumpkin pie recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar. So I cut this down to 3/4 of a cup. It's not a huge change, but it's all about, sometimes it's those small changes that work out better, because they create a less texture change, and the resulting recipe is more close to the original, and so it's more palatable, and we like it that way. Oh, what size was the pumpkin pie can? So anyway, so I used the 3/4 of a cup of sugar. This is a 15-ounce can of pumpkin. All right. So this is one of my favorite things about pumpkin pie. I'm going to move my whisk over here, is when we add all these spices in. I love the colors. So let me make sure. Yeah, you can freeze evaporated milk. I don't know what else you can do. I actually use it for when I make frosting for cupcakes. So again, not super healthy, but fun treats. All right, so we need 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. So honestly, if I were freezing the evaporated milk, I would probably freeze it in ice cube trays, and then you could just take out, a cube or two, whatever you're going to do with it. I think some people put it in their coffee, maybe, I'm not sure. So we're going to have 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. And this is, if there are spices that you're not a big fan of that I'm using, there we go. You can totally leave them out. So my husband is not a fan of cloves. So if I'm making this when he's going to eat it, I just leave the cloves out. But where are my cloves? Oh, I love the cloves. All right. So 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. We have, oops, I should do this in order so I don't forget. half a teaspoon of ginger. Okay. This over so I don't forget. We have a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Oh, there we go. Love it, love it. A half a teaspoon of those cloves. Ooh, I need more cloves. There we go. Half a teaspoon of allspice. You can also, if you want, I would have to do the math to add it all. You could always throw in like a couple teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice as well, if you didn't want to buy all of these spices. Oh, there you go. Got lots of tips for evaporated milk. Well, let me see what this. All right, my recipe says 15. You're right, it does say 17.5 ounces. I've never seen a 17.5 ounce can of pumpkin, so I think that was a typo. So I'm sorry about that. So I'm glad somebody asked. Yeah, I've only ever seen 15-ounce cans of pumpkin puree. That's crazy. And just a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. All right, so like I was saying, this one of my favorite things about making pumpkin pie. I love how all those color spices are so pretty. Okay, so now we're just gonna whisk this up. I actually don't want to lose all those spices. All right, get all those spices on the edge and mix it up. All right, now would be another great time if anybody has a couple questions. Just as I'm stirring, unless you just want to watch me stir. What I am going to do is put it over here so you guys can see the stirring a little bit better. All right, and this is, oh, for a minute I thought I didn't put my eggs in. Why does salt add to the recipe? You can totally leave it out. Salt is something that just sort of enhances the flavor of other recipes. So, or the other flavors in the recipe, but you could totally leave it out, not a problem at all. Let's see. On your iPhone, you have to like swish left or right. You can only see one screen at a time on the phone. I don't know why. So if you swish, you might be able to get it. Let's see. Yep, you can freeze pumpkin in there. You could totally use a small mixer, but I just did it. I mean, like I always look at the less stuff I have to get out and clean, the better. And for me, it's way easier to clean this than dealing with my mixer. But totally, you can totally do that. Yes, these will freeze. I'm actually freezing mine because we're going to have them next week for Thanksgiving. I would freeze them once they're cooked. I would let them totally cool. And then I would put them. So basically, what I'm going to do, I'll tell you this. All right. After these come out of the oven, yeah, there we go. After these come out of the oven, I'm going to set the muffin pans on a cooling rack, let them cool. Then I will be, once they are cool, I'm going to take them out of the muffin pans, let them cool completely. Then I'm going to put them on the same cookie sheet. I'm going to line it with parchment paper and put them so they can freeze individually. And then once they're frozen, I'm probably going to put them like in a Tupperware kind of lock and lock container to store them in. So yeah, and then just let them thaw out I would let them thaw at room temperature until you're ready to eat them, or when you're ready to eat them, I should say. All right. Okay. So now it is time to fill our muffin pan. So let me just make sure, I'm gonna scroll through my recipe, make sure I put everything in here. All right, flour, wheat, yes, we have everything in here. I like to use a cookie scoop. It just makes it easier for me to portion it out. I want to make sure we can see. There we go. Um, Pumpkin empanadas. That sounds delicious. This is, you know what, I should have known somebody's going to ask me what size scoop it is. This is a 30 scoop. All right. So, and I think, yeah, it's okay. The pumpkin will go up over the sides of the crust, and that's totally okay. All right. At what temp and for how long do they bake? We will get to that when I put them in the oven. I know they bake at 350, but it is on the recipe. We are just scooping and filling here, scooping and filling. And the 30, I couldn't remember the last time I made these, what size scoop I used. And I thought the 30 was too small, and it is. So you might want to do like a 20 scoop. All right, so we'll get that off because I still have filling left. So I'm just going to add a little bit more to each one. So the crusts are going to be more like a base than they are like a tart crust, where you think of a tart and you have a crust that goes all the way around and the filling. Our crust goes up a little bit, but it is more like a base. All right, we just have a smidge left. Find out who needs some more. All right, and then we are done. All right, I hate wasting any ingredients. Okay. Let's see, I missed the recipe for the crust. Can you repeat it at the end? Sure, you'll also get emailed to you. There, oh, going the wrong way. There we go. Yeah, so you can totally use a spoon, 2 spoons, whatever you do, whatever you want. I have yeah, do cookie scoops come in different sizes. I got little bitties and medium sizes. They come in lots of sizes. Love those for cookies. I'm actually gonna pop these in the oven. Oh, thank you so much for whoever is typing that in there. I completely set this on my flour lined board. So these are gonna go into the oven at 350. I'm gonna do this right now, but we can keep talking. Ah. All right, so the recipe says cook them for about, yeah, definitely for meatballs. I use the scoops for a lot of stuff. Muffins. Recipe says cook for about 25 minutes. I always set my oven for about 5 minutes less than a recipe says, because you never know what, if your oven runs hot or cold. And you can always add time, but you cannot subtract time. So I always set it low. What else? They're basically, so when you're making a full pie, it's done when there's like a $half size, wiggle area in the middle when you shake it, because it's going to set up. These aren't going to have that wiggle area. So you don't want them rock hard, but what I normally do is I sort of give the pan a little shake, and if they don't wiggle, and then I sort of tap them a little and see how firm they are. Remember, they're going to set up as they cool because it is a custard. But if they're somewhat firm, then I trust that they're done, and then I pull them out. So yeah, you're right. You can't unburn anything. Could you leave out the crust and bake the pumpkin as a pudding completely? In fact, that's what when I make like a full-size pumpkin pie, For whatever reason, it doesn't matter what size pie pan I use. I always have leftover pie filling, and yeah, I take little custard cups and just have a little pumpkin pudding, and so it would work the same way with this, and that would make it even healthier because now you don't have any of the extra fat from the crust. You're just getting that pumpkin with some added sugar and spices. All right, so these are going to take about 20 minutes to cook. So I'm happy to talk to you guys for 20 minutes, or we can just let them see or let them cook, and you guys can give them a whirl. I don't know if you guys want to see them undone or done. Oh, thank you for the scoop sizes. Yeah, I actually have a sticky in my cupboard that says like what size scoop is what measurement and which ones I use for muffins so that I remember. I can't remember. I think it's the 20 scoop I use to fill muffins, but I can't remember right now, which would have been appropriate for today since these were muffin pans. I'm just going to slowly go through. I think I saw everybody's question. Oh, if you're using metal pans, do you recommend liners or just greasing? Good question. I would say either would work, but I can't swear to it that the greasing would be enough. I mean, there is oil in the crust, so it should pop out okay, and they do get firm. Um, I would probably, if I was you, I would probably make most of them with paper and then maybe grease a couple and see how they come out, and then you'll know for next time. Let's see. Whoops. All right, so we got that. We got a couple new messages. Hold on. You don't need to put them in the fridge overnight. That's just true. That's like basic pumpkin pie recipe stuff. But they're just not going to be so the custard isn't going to be as firm if it's not chilled. Uh, so it may just be a little thinner than you're used to, but yeah. Um, do you use homemade whipped cream on top? Now that's a funny question. I don't actually like whipped cream. So I don't. But yes, you could totally put homemade whipped cream on top. Um, and that would be good. Um, is oat milk too thin? I've never used oat milk. So yeah, give it a try. I would say why not? If you've cooked with it before, then I would say give it a try. You could also, I mean, I don't know if you've ever used like lactate, although you know what? Oh shoot, I forgot that had stuff in it. Yeah, I would just say try the oat milk. Um, and like I said, if you normally cook with it, then give it a try. You might be able to Google. I would probably Google pumpkin pie recipe with oat milk and just see if they make any alterations to the recipe, any other ingredients that they use to balance out with the oat milk. Let's see. Do you need a hard cookie sheet when using silicone? I do. It's just those things are floppy. So if I'm trying to pick up a floppy muffin pan, it's going to spill all over the floor. So I always put it on the sheet pans, much easier to get into the oven and out of the oven. Because they're still going to be floppy when they're cooked. Can't drink lactate. Sorry about that. Um, oh, somebody said you can maybe use almond milk. And I know somebody asked about Thanksgiving healthy tips, so I'm going to get to that in a second. I just want to make sure we have no other. Well, thank you. I'm glad you guys liked this. All right. So other healthy Thanksgiving tips. Let's see. So one of my tips just for healthy eating is I mean, there's a couple of them. So first, it's maybe have just a little bit of everything instead of, huge mounds of everything. And that way you don't feel deprived. Another idea is I always tell people, make whatever you're eating worth it. So for me, okay, when it comes to dessert, this happens to me a lot in a restaurant. I hate to go to a restaurant and getting and find a dessert that they had shipped in that was in the freezer for the last, 3 weeks. I want a homemade dessert. So I'm not going to waste my um, splurge eating on something that I don't enjoy. So look at that at the holidays too. If there are things that you're just eating because they're there, then don't. Just, really enjoy the foods that you like to enjoy that are enjoyable for you. But when we think about Thanksgiving, there really are lots of healthy eating options. If your family does sweet potatoes, if there's vegetables, turkey, applesauce, cranberry sauce, a little sugary in those. Um, Make sure that you do not, starve yourself all day for the big meal. You're going to do better off and be able to control your eating better and not overeat and feel better if you have a small breakfast. And I mean, depending on when you eat the Thanksgiving meal, and a small lunch, versus I know a lot of people they have they're just eating all day long, or they just don't eat all and then they gorge in the meal. So that's probably my biggest tip, is make sure you eat throughout the day so that it's easier to make healthy choices when it comes down to mealtime. Let's see, we've got lots of tips on the almond milk. So thank you everyone for chiming in on that. Um, oh, I'm so glad you're going to make the pies. They are so yummy. What else here? Okay, hold on. Bob's got a rule here. Oh, so first of all, could this crust be used for pecan pie or other pie? I don't see why not. Yeah. And if you wanted to make it, I actually have made this crust before, um, in a full-size pan. I just, instead of making the log and cutting it, I just take that big ball of dough and put it, I don't have the pie pan with me, put it in the pie pan and use my fingers to press it out. So you could totally make a full-size pie with it as well. All right, hold on. Oh, shoot, I lost Bob's rule. Let me get back to it. Hold on. If I'm going to eat something that's bad for me, it's going to be something that's really good that's bad for me. I love that. Exactly. And although I don't think any food is bad for us, there's just some food that's better for us than others. But yeah, make it worth it. Let's see, could you use another type of filling? I don't know why not. Yep, I think that would work fine. Um, oh my, could you repeat? Oh, 350 for about 20 to 20, well, 25 minutes, but check it after 20. Um, After they are filled and temp. Yeah, okay. Um, but yeah, thanks. Um, yeah, so I hope I know, yeah, mine still have 11 minutes and that's probably more like 15 because I set them early. Um, but yeah, I'm so glad everybody joined me tonight. This was fun. I hope you guys make these for Thanksgiving or make these for, tomorrow, whatever you want to do. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Um, and yeah, and that's it. So thank you so much. Um, I had fun. I love cooking. I love helping people eat healthier. No, did not cook the crust first. How would I freeze them? I would, once they are totally cool, I would put them on a parchment lined sheet pan, pop them in the freezer or multiple sheet pans, depending on how big your freezer is, till they're solid. And then I would put them in like a Tupperware container to keep them airtight. And then I would thaw them. I would bring them out and thaw them at room temperature.
Awesome. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Heidi. This was amazing. I can't wait to get into my kitchen and make these.
I know they're so good. Oh, and I love smelling pumpkin. Somebody commented she can already smell them.
Yep, it's definitely my favorite. All right, just a reminder to everybody, thank you so much for coming. Again, this is hosted by Ashland Public Library. Thank you so much, Heidi McIndoo, author and chef extraordinaire, for joining us this afternoon or this evening to teach us how to create mini pumpkin tartlets. A reminder to everybody that the ingredients list and the recording for this webinar will go out to you sometime in the next week or so. We promise we'll get it all wrapped up and good to go. And we hope that you have a wonderful evening, and thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. And Jacqueline just said, please come back. I would love to come back. I love doing this. Um,
Wonderful.
Somebody else commented the recipe calls for 17.5 ounce can. We can only find 15. No, I used recipe typo. I used a 15-ounce can.
We'll
So
edit that.
it's, stick to the recipe as is.
Awesome.
All right. I can't post a picture now because they're actually in the oven, but it's just the filling just went over the edges of the crust, not over the muffin pan, just over the edges of the crust. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
Wonderful. Maybe Heidi, you can send us a picture of your finished product and
Yes.
we can add that to the email.
Yes, I will definitely do that. I'll
That
definitely do
would
that.
be awesome.
All right. Bye-bye,
All
everyone.
right. Take care, everyone.